Imagine a bird so prized for its golden feathers that its owner keeps it in a golden cage. He loves the bird, he says. He feeds it the finest seeds, protects it from the wind and snow, and displays it for all the world to admire its unique beauty. But he never ever lets it fly. He keeps its wings clipped, its world confined to the ornate bars he has constructed. The bird, knowing no other life, might even believe this is love. It might even be grateful for its beautiful prison. Today we're talking about a woman who is that bird. And this is the story of how she begins to realize that a cage, no matter how gilded, is still a cage. Welcome back to the channel. The book we are diving into today is Gild, the first installment in the electrifying Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. This is a book that grabs you by the throat from the first chapter and refuses to let go. It's a dark fantasy, a haunting and powerful retelling of the King Midas myth, but it's so much more than that. This story peels back the shimmering layers of gold to expose something raw, painful, and profoundly human. The central problem of Gild is one of the most insidious and complex in human experience, the nature of abuse when it is disguised as love. The prison of the mind when it has been manipulated into believing it is a sanctuary. Our protagonist, Oren, is the prized possession of the powerful King Midas. But she is not just a favorite consort, she is his living treasure. Years ago, he touched her, and with his magical gift, turned her skin, her hair, her very irises into pure, glittering gold. She is a walking, breathing statue of unimaginable worth. And because she is so precious, so coveted, he keeps her locked away on the top floor of his golden castle, inside a magnificent golden cage. For 10 years, this has been her world. She is his favored, his precious. She tells herself she is safe, protected from the cruel world outside. She eats the finest foods, wears the most delicate silks, and wants for nothing material. She even believes she loves him. He saved her after all. But this safety is a suffocating blanket. She is utterly alone, a spectacle to be observed, her only company the other concubines, the saddles, whom Midas uses for his pleasure in front of her very eyes. Oren's problem is that her entire reality is a carefully constructed lie, and she is a willing participant in her own imprisonment, constantly looking for the bright side of a situation that is slowly, quietly eroding her soul. The grand promise of this book and of this series is not to give you a simple story of a damsel in distress waiting for a hero. The promise is something far more potent. Raven Kennedy promises to take you on a harrowing, deeply intimate journey inside the mind of a victim as she begins the slow, agonizing process of waking up. It's a promise to witness the first cracks that appear in a decade-long illusion, to feel the terror and confusion as the gilded bars begin to look less like protection and more like what they truly are. The promise of Gild is to watch a woman who has been treated as a beautiful object her entire life start to remember what it feels like to be a person. It is a story of survival of trauma and the first, terrifying steps toward reclamation of the self. So prepare yourselves. This is not just a retelling, it's a reckoning. The story opens as Oren's life so often does, with her watching King Midas from behind the bars of her cage. He is in the atrium, a massive room of glass and gold, engaged in a debauched orgy with his 6 royal saddles. Oren is a spectator, a permanent fixture. She sips her golden goblet of wine and tries to find the bright side. The acoustics in the atrium are excellent for echoing moans, she notes with a detached bitterness. The glass walls offer a view of the perpetually snow-covered world of the Sixth Kingdom, a world she hasn't touched in 10 years. Everything in her world is gold. The floors, the furniture, the clothes she wears, even the pet bird Midas once turned into a lifeless, silent statue named Coin. Oren herself is the centerpiece of this collection. Her skin is not painted or tanned, it is real, shimmering, satiny gold. She is, as she calls herself, the gold-plated prisoner. And what a pretty prison it is. Her relationship with Midas is a twisted knot of dependency and affection. He is the only person who touches her, and she craves his attention with a desperate hunger. He speaks to her with tender words, calling her his precious, his favored, too valuable to be sullied like the common saddles. He insists he keeps her caged for her own protection, to keep her safe. And Oren, a girl he rescued from a brutal life 10 years prior, clings to this narrative. It is the foundation of her world. He is her savior, her protector, her king. The moments he offers her a gentle caress through the bars are the moments she lives for, and they are just enough to keep her compliant, to keep her from questioning the fundamental wrongness of her existence. She is an expert at rationalizing her life, at burying the loneliness and the wrongness under shovelfuls of numbing snow. This fragile, gilded equilibrium is shattered with the visit of a foreign king, the crass and lecherous King Folk of the Fifth Kingdom. Folk has long coveted Midas' wealth, and more than that, he has coveted Oren. He makes no secret of his desire for her, and in the past, Midas has always shut him down with possessive pride. But this time is different. In a horrifying breakfast scene that serves as the book's first major turning point, Folk makes Midas an offer. One night with Oren, hell pay handsomely. Oren watches, her heart hammering, expecting Midas to unleash his wrath. But instead a cunning, calculating look enters Midas' eyes. He is not angry. He is negotiating. He tells Folk he doesn't need money. He has all the wealth in the world. But he does need an army. He is planning a secret attack on the brutal Fourth Kingdom, ruled by the feared King Ravenger, also known as King Rot. And he makes a deal, right there in front of Oren, her world tilting on its axis. One night with his favored, his precious Aaron, in exchange for the might of Folk's army. The shock is a physical blow. Oren, for the first time in years, breaks her placid composure. She stands, she protests, she even dares to call Midas by his first name, Tyndall, a name from a time before he was a king, a time when he was just her rescuer. But Midas is no longer Tyndall. He is a king, and his ambition is a cold, hard thing. He silences her with a cruel reminder of her place. You are my royal saddle to be ridden by whomever I wish. The foundation of her world cracks. The man she believed was her protector has just sold her, like a possession, a tool for his political machinations. The pretty prison has suddenly revealed its true, ugly purpose. It's not a sanctuary, it's a display case for a product now up for sale. In the days that follow, Oren is plunged into a new kind of hell. She is forced to sit in on the war meetings between Midas and Folk, a pretty, silent centerpiece, listening as they plan their attack. And it's here she learns the full, horrifying scope of Midas' plan. This wasn't a spontaneous decision. Has been planning this for months. He used her as a lure, knowing Folk couldn't resist. She was the shiny coin he placed on the ground to trap his rival. Her sense of betrayal deepens, poisoning everything she thought she knew. During this time, her isolation becomes even more pronounced. The other saddles, who already disliked her for her favored status, now see her as a rival for Folk's attention as well. In a moment of burgeoning empathy and defiance, Oren tries to help one of the saddles, Rissa, who is being forced by Folk to dance for hours on end. Oren, in a clumsy attempt at creating a distraction, throws a heavy, gold-plated book at her. But she misjudges, hitting Rissa in the face and drawing blood. Her punishment is swift and cruel since she has deprived Folk of his dancer. She must take Rissa's place. She is forced to dance for the leering men, to endure Folk's vile promises of what he will do to her on their promised night together, and Midas just watches. His silence is a second betrayal, a confirmation that he will not save her. Her suffering is compounded by the arrival of Midas' wife, the beautiful and cold Queen Melina. Melina despises Oren, seeing her as a garish symbol of her husband's infidelity and a constant reminder of her own political powerlessness. Following a tense confrontation between the royal couple, Melina finds Oren alone in her rooms. In a brutal display of cruelty, she has her personal guard assault Oren, punching her in the gut and slamming her head against the bars of her own cage. A vicious reminder that even within her prison, she is not safe. The queen's parting words are venomous. Remember your place, saddle. You're just a pet for Midas to mount, a souvenir to show off. The physical pain is immense, but the emotional agony is worse. The gilded cage has become a torture chamber, and every person she once looked to for some semblance of stability has become a tormentor. The night of the party arrives, the night she is to be handed over to Folk. It's a public spectacle. Midas announces his victory over the Fourth Kingdom, a victory, he declares, made possible by Folk's alliance. And as payment, he publicly gifts Oren to the other king. Oren, come forward. In that moment, walking through the silent, staring crowd, Oren makes a decision. She will not be a pawn. She will not be a coin to be spent. She defies Folk, refusing to go with him. The backlash is immediate. Folk hits her, and Midas, instead of intervening, coldly remarks, "Well, I gave you her cunt, not her head." It is the final, shattering blow to any lingering hope Oren had. Her heart, she feels, cracks like glass. But just as she is being dragged away by Folk's guards, a messenger from the border bursts in, bloody and exhausted. and the truth of Midas' grand, monstrous plan is revealed. There was no joint attack. Midas' army never went to the border. He sent Folk's army alone into a trap to be decimated by King Ravenger's forces. He lied about everything, all so he could weaken the Fifth Kingdom and seize it for himself. Midas' ambition knows no bounds. He didn't just sell Auron, he orchestrated the slaughter of an entire army. The room explodes into violence. King Folk, realizing he's been betrayed, grabs Auron, holding a knife to her throat, intending to take her down with him. For a terrifying moment, Auron is certain she is going to die. But then a sword bursts through Folk's chest from behind. It is Digby, her stoic, silent guard, who has killed a king to save her life. In the aftermath, Auron is a wreck, but for the first time in a decade, Midas holds her, comforts her. He spins a new story, a masterful lie to explain his actions. He tells her he discovered Folk was a secret flesh trader, selling his own people into slavery. He did it all to stop a monster, he claims. He did it all for her, to ensure no one would endure what she once did. It was a ruse, he says. He was never going to let Folk touch her. The lie is so potent, so perfectly targeted at her deepest traumas, that she believes him, or rather she chooses to. The relief of not being abandoned is so overwhelming that it papers over the mountain of his deceit. And so a new chapter begins. Midas travels to the now leaderless Fifth Kingdom to stabilize it, secretly sending for Auron to join him a few weeks later. For the first time in 10 years, Auron steps out of her cage, out of the castle. The journey is a revelation. She rides a horse, feels the wind, sees the sky without glass between them. She befriends one of her new guards, a kind, good-humored young man from the slums named Sale. He is the first real friend Shez had in a decade, and through his eyes, she sees a side of Midas' golden kingdom she never knew existed, the abject poverty of the shanties. It's a jarring truth that the Golden King lets his own people starve while his castle gleams. In a profound act of rebellion and compassion, Auron gives away her own gold coins to the starving children, an act that nearly incites a riot among the desperate onlookers. This fragile taste of freedom is brutally short-lived. Out in the frozen wasteland known as the Barrens, their caravan is ambushed. They are attacked by the Red Raids, a vicious band of snow pirates. The attack is swift and merciless. Her guards are slaughtered, the other saddles captured, and Auron is dragged from her carriage. The pirates' leader, the cruel Captain Fane, is thrilled by his prize. He recognizes her not as a woman covered in paint, but as the true gilded pet of King Midas. His plan is simple: to use her, break her, and then sell her for an exorbitant price. In the midst of this horror, Sale, her new friend, tries to protect her. He stands up to Captain Fane, pleading for her safety, appealing to Midas' name. For his bravery, for his loyalty to her, Fane tortures him, mocks him, and then, with a casual cruelty that is breathtakingly evil, he stabs Sale through the heart. Sale dies with his eyes on Auron, his last breath a broken promise that she would be okay. His death is the spark that ignites a fire in Auron that has been dormant for a decade. The shock and grief morph into a white-hot rage. She defies the pirates using her prehensile, ribbon-like appendages that sprout from her back, a strange magic she has always concealed to cut down Sale's body from the post where the pirates have strung it up as a trophy. She heaves his body, her body weak and exhausted, and pushes him over the side of the pirate ship, giving him a burial in the snow, away from their defiling hands. For this act of defiance, Captain Fane drags her to his cabin, intent on punishing her, on breaking her before their journey is over. He pulls her into his quarters, hits her, tears her dress. Rissa, the saddle she once tried to help, is there too, and Fane assaults her with brutal, violent indifference. He is a monster. And as Auron lies on the floor, beaten and broken, watching this horror unfold, something inside her finally, irrevocably snaps. Just as Fane turns his attention back to her, ready to continue his assault, the sun begins to rise. A weak, ashen dawn breaks through the windows. And with it, Auron's own dawn arrives. She gets to her feet, and as the captain lunges for her, she moves faster. She slaps her bare palm against his neck. And in that instant, everything changes. A ripple of gold spreads from her touch, consuming Captain Fane. He freezes, his expression of shock and rage immortalized, as he is turned in seconds into a statue of solid, gleaming gold. Auron stares at her hand, at the golden man, at the horrified Rissa on the bed. The book ends on this monumental cliffhanger. Auron, the gold-plated prisoner, the prized possession, has the golden touch herself. King Midas, her savior and her captor, has been lying about everything. The power was never his, it was always hers. And as the story closes, we learn that King Midas, miles away in his newly acquired kingdom, has just received a letter. They have her, and he is seeing red. His gilded bird is out of her cage, and now she's in the hands of his deadliest enemy. So, what makes Gild so radically different from other books in the massively popular fantasy romance genre? First and foremost, it is the unapologetic, slow-burn deep dive into the psychology of trauma. Author Raven Kennedy makes a bold choice. Instead of giving us an action-packed plot from the get-go, she forces us to live inside Oren's gilded cage. We feel the claustrophobia, the loneliness, the painful mental gymnastics Oren performs to convince herself she is loved and safe. The pacing is deliberate, mirroring Oren's own slow, painful awakening. This isn't a story about a strong female character. It's a story about how a character becomes strong, and the journey is all the more powerful for its realism. The subversion of the King Midas myth is brilliant. It's not just a retelling, it's a recontextualization. The gift of gold is not a blessing or a simple curse. It is a brand, a mark of ownership, and the source of the story's central lie, the unraveling of which is the entire point of the series. This book is for a very specific reader, and I want to be clear about that. This is for the reader who craves character-driven fantasy with profound emotional and psychological depth. If you love stories about court intrigue, political maneuvering, and dark, complex relationships, this is for you. It's for the reader who appreciates seeing a character truly earn their development, who is willing to sit with discomfort to get to a place of catharsis and empowerment. It is for anyone who has ever felt like an object, a possession, or a prisoner of their circumstances, and who wants to see a story about breaking free, not with a single, heroic act, but with 1,000 tiny, painful cracks that finally shatter the walls. However, this book is not for everyone. If you're looking for a lighthearted, fast-paced fantasy adventure, this isn't it. The themes are heavy confinement, manipulation, and emotional abuse are central to the plot. The first half of the book can feel slow and repetitive, but that is the entire point, to make you experience the stagnation of Oren's life. If you require a protagonist who is strong and defiant from page 1, you will be frustrated. Oren's journey is about finding her strength, not just wielding it. The single, most valuable takeaway you will be left with after finishing Gild is a powerful and resonant truth, that our cages are often built from the lies we tell ourselves to survive. And that freedom isn't just about escaping the bars, it's about unlearning the voice of the captor that has taken root inside your own head. It's a story that reminds us that true worth isn't something that can be gilded onto us by another, but something that must be discovered and reclaimed from within, no matter how much it costs. At the beginning of this summary, I asked you to imagine a gilded bird in a golden cage, a creature so prized it was never allowed to be free. Gild is the story of that bird finally realizing that the bars were never for her protection, but for her captor's power. This summary has only shown you the cage. Reading the book is the journey itself. It is the experience of watching her feel the first gust of wind on her face, of seeing her test the strength of the bars, of witnessing the moment she realizes she has wings of her own. This is not just a book you read, it is a story you feel in your bones. If you are ready for a journey that is as dark and harrowing as it is ultimately empowering, then your next step is clear. The link to purchase Gild by Raven Kennedy is in the description below. Invest in this story. It will stay with you long after you've turned the final page. Thank you for joining me, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think of Oren's journey. Until next